welcome to this week's episode of LdnOnt TV here on Rogers TV. I am your host, Bronagh Morgan, and welcome to our politics featured show with one of my favorite, I guess, former politicians, and maybe future politicians, who knows. Kelly Elliot served as a councillor as well as deputy mayor of Thames Centre for 2 terms? Or
2 terms, yes.
2 terms.
Yes.
And now she's got an exciting new job to tell us about as well. So and I know she has a lot of great ideas and thoughts about all things political. Came on our panel, I think, for, was it the provincial election or?
Provincial elections, yes.
Yeah, so
yes.
I always love your takes on all things political. So thanks for being here, Kelly.
Thanks very much for having me. I'm glad to be back.
So it's a pleasure. So when I first met you, I think that was during the 2015 election when I was running in Elgin, Middlesex, London. So that was a federal election.
Yes.
And you were already a councillor at that point?
Yes, I was elected in 2014.
And
yes.
So you really started your political career pretty young.
Yes, so I was 28 when I was first elected as councillor, yes.
And so up until that point, was politics just in your blood?
I think I always wanted to get involved in politics. I was always passionate about what was happening at the local level. My grandpa was kind of worked his way up through local government and was an MP. And I thought, I'll do it when I'm old and retired, because that's when you get involved in politics, when you're that old, retired, and done everything you want to do in your life. So you do politics. And so that was kind of what I thought I was going to do. And then leading up, so a couple years before that 2014 election, I, with a friend, started I Love Thorndale, just kind of a community group, and we were really passionate about, we were seeing our small town grow, and how do we grow where everybody's welcome, where we don't just become a bedroom community to London? How do we become a community where we can thrive? And so we created I Love Thorndale, and as those discussions were happening, we were seeing a real disconnect between what was happening at the municipality and what was happening in the community, and that disconnect between our local representation. And so we begun the discussions of, okay, we need someone to run in the upcoming election. Who should it be? And I kept asking people, saying, you should run. Have you ever considered doing this? And everyone kept flipping it back at me. And so when the time came around to sign up, I was like, you know what? I think I can do this. So I did. And
that's interesting, because that's been a theme. I chatted with Mayor Preston earlier this year, as well as Karen Vecchio recently as well. And it seems like other people kind of recognize the politician in these people. Like, they didn't necessarily think that this is my time. A lot of people kind of invite them to do it. And I think you do that for people now too, don't you? Like,
yes.
You're very encouraging for other people to get involved in politics.
Yeah, well, I think, it's so important for people to get involved, and especially young people, especially women. We need those diverse voices at the table, and so I think encouraging them, and just like it was for me personally, and for a lot of people, you need that extra encouragement to get into it.
Absolutely. And so obviously you saw a need. So you're talking about the disconnect. You saw a need for voices like yours. So younger people, or people who had different opinions, maybe that weren't getting reflected or even like a loud enough voice at the municipal level. So talk to me about how having a voice like yours, or having voices like yours, different kinds of people getting involved in politics, has been able to change things, maybe in your community, and then maybe the bigger picture.
Yeah, so I think, bringing more voices to the table is just bringing a different perspective to the table on how we look at things. When I was first elected to Middlesex County Council in 2018, when I became deputy mayor, I remember sitting down with the CAO, and we had this conversation about why we need more women on Middlesex County Council. And I said to him, it's just that perspective. I, at that time, was a young mom. My kids were not teenagers yet. And so, libraries, parks, all those things were very important to me, because that was what was important to my family and to my friends with their kids, and so someone who maybe their kids are grown up, and they're more focused on roads or tangible things like that, and the hard services, and so they don't really see the value, and not that they don't see the value, but they don't appreciate the value of those softer services that women tend to do. And so, bringing that full perspective where everybody has a voice at that table, or their perspective is being seen at that table, is so important.
Yeah, I think a lot of people get involved with politics. Most of the people that I've ever met that have gotten involved with politics, they do it coming from a good place because they have the desire to serve, and they maybe have some kind of idea about what they can bring to the table that's going to make the municipality, the region, the province, the country, the world a better place. And so it's not necessarily that there's anything wrong with the people that are in government existing, but maybe they have some blind spots.
Absolutely. And I think that, and as a being a politician myself, definitely I saw that I had those blind spots. I remember, a perfect example is I had a teenager named Jesse, and he's legally blind, and him and his mom invited me out to do an accessibility walk through the town of Dorchester, and it was a literal blind spot because I didn't realize how hard it was to navigate our town, being legally blind. And so doing that walk with Jesse was a real, no pun intended, eye-opener in the fact that, we could do so much better. And from that launched the Accessibility and Inclusivity Committee that we created in Thames Center, where we could bring more voices to the table. And so, those exciting things when you can really sit back and see that, you're not sitting at that table knowing everything is so important. And opening up the space for more people to come in is really just makes your community a better place.
Absolutely. So I was really surprised. The first time I ever went to a political convention, it's fun. Have you been? I'm sure you've been to some political. I never thought of myself as somebody who would go to a convention, but I went to a couple of conventions. So you have, your business of the day, and then there's usually socials at the end of the day. I could not believe that I was, thinking about how I was going to get home from wherever, it was a hotel, and my hotel was somewhere else, right?
Right.
So two of the gentlemen I was speaking with, who had been in politics much longer than I had, were just could not fathom the fact that I couldn't just walk 5 miles home in a town that I've never been to before.
Yeah.
In the dead of night. And it's not that there's nothing wrong with the politics or anything. These were wonderful gentlemen, but they just did not have that perspective. So I 100%
Absolutely.
agree with you. So what kind of things, people who are thinking about getting involved in politics, what's the first step? Just find a friend, find an issue to get involved with, volunteering.
Yeah, all of those are great ideas. So find something that you're passionate about. Start talking with your city or county councilors. Start a petition, do a delegation at council. Just start getting involved that way. Definitely getting a mentor, I think, is the biggest thing. Finding a local elected official that you look up to, reaching out to them. A lot of them are kind people and would love to, just sit down and have a coffee with you and talk about experiences. And I think that's the first step, and finding people that you can talk about. I think we kind of first met in the loop of Pints and Politics when it was first starting in London. And so that really got me into, I can run, being involved with people who are interested in local government and things like that. So.
Yeah, so in a social way, but also, the thing that you're passionate about. So there's no sense, just being a politician. There are things that everybody feels, that's my, sports is one for me, art is one for me. What is, something that you're super passionate about that kind of you brought to the table with politics?
Yeah, so, accessibility and inclusivity, that was a big one, especially being from a small community where, diversity isn't, something that we always saw, but it was there. And I know when I talked about the walk I did with Jesse, but also I had another family reach out to me that was seeing a lot of racism in our community. So that was a big push to do the inclusivity piece of that. And so that was something I was always passionate about is bringing those diverse voices to the table and ensuring they have a seat at the table. The environment is a big one for me, which I know it is for you, and kind of post-political life. I've been working on that. I'm behind the scenes. I'm working on a committee right now with activists and people that are really interested in the impacts that what's happening at the province, the impacts to the environment and our agricultural land in the rural areas. So I'm working on that, getting youth involved. So again, working with a couple of youth in the community right now on getting them excited about issues that impact them. So that's where my passions lie. And so it's funny, you know, we chatted before this about life after politics and, you know, finding where your voice fits. And I'm kind of back at where I was 9 years ago, you know, just finding where my voice fits now. But
well, I'm glad that you have fitted into your schedule to be here with us. I know we have to take a break now, but you're going to chat some more with me about more of the things that you're involved with right now after the break.
Sounds great.
So stay with us. We'll have more with Kelly Elliott after this.
This program is brought to you by the following sponsors.
Carbon monoxide is a deadly gas you can't see, smell, or taste.
Homes with fuel-burning appliances and/or attached garages must have working CO alarms installed outside all sleeping areas.
Don't let the silent killer get you. Install working CO alarms today.
Night's action on Rogers TV.
Hey, Gabe, we're supposed to be at City Hall.
We're gonna build it right here.
Ah, yeah, sure. And give wetsuits to all the visitors?
No, on the water.
Hey, come on, we're talking about building something the size of 64 city blocks.
And there's no land left in Montreal.
So, get serious.
Listen, we'll build islands.
How? You dig up Montreal?
They're digging a subway, remember? You take it from there, and you put it here.
12 months and 25 million tons of fill later, St. Helens Island was reshaped and Ile Notre Dame was created.
Come on, we don't want to keep Mayor Drapa waiting, do we?
Montreal's Expo 67. It would prove to be the most successful World's Fair of the 20th century.
Welcome back to LdnOnt TV here on Rogers TV. I'm your host, Bronagh Morgan, and I'm talking with former county councillor, former deputy mayor, current friend of mine, I'd like to think.
The best title of all.
Wonderful human being, Kelly Elliott. What's your new title? Because I know you're involved with a new organization that really kind of involves things that you were passionate about when you were involved with politics.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've taken a new job in the last few weeks, kind of post-political life. So I'm with the Association of Ontario Road Supervisors. So it is a provincial association, and we represent municipal public works employees as well as suppliers for municipalities. And so I'm super excited. Like you said, it combines into a lot of things that I was passionate about when I was elected and kind of continues on a lot of the work that I was doing. So I'm super excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, so I know when we talked with Mayor Preston earlier in the season, one of the things that he brought up, which is kind of like a nagging issue that hopefully sometime we get dealt with, is just getting around the communities here. He talked about like how much easier it is to get from St. Thomas to Toronto than it is to get from St. Thomas to London, which is crazy.
Yeah, and that was something, I guess it's 3 years now, we launched Middlesex County Connect, which still is an intercommunity bus service that connects Oxford County, Middlesex County, and the City of London. And so it's buses that run Monday through to Friday. There's 2 routes that run Woodstock, Thorndale into London, and then Dorchester to London, back and forth, I think 4 times a day. There's routes that go, and then Saturday is on demand, where you can kind of go, you know, if you need to go in and get some groceries, just call up the bus, it comes, picks you up. It's a fantastic service. And that is a pilot project that the province launched, and there's various microtransit projects across the county, across southwestern Ontario. But yeah, we need more of them, and and we also need to get people. The hardest thing that I found when I was an elected official is encouraging people, you know, out in the county, you're so used to just getting in your car, because for so long that was your only option, was that private transportation. So getting people out of their cars into transit is such a big thing that we need to work on.
And it's just so, I don't know, not having to drive the car. As somebody who is in my car all the time right now because of where I live and how much driving around with children and different jobs that I have, it's delightful having somebody drive you around.
It is. And you know what, we, former Mayor Alison Warwick, current warden of Middlesex County right now, Kathy Burkhardt-Jessen, we did a bunch of day trips to kind of promote what you could do on the bus. And we went to Grand Bend one day. We went on a wine tour through Norfolk County just using microtransit. And so there's a lot of exciting things that you can do, and just getting the word out and getting people out of their cars onto the bus is huge.
Yeah, well, that was one of the things I know when I moved here or when I used to live in Toronto before I moved here to London. You would always, everybody used public transit. So you'd see your local politician, you'd see your MPP, you'd see your MP, you'd see famous people on the TTC all the time. It's cool to take public transit. So I'm so glad you are setting an example as a politician actually using the transit, because it's a great idea.
It is. It is.
So talk to me, I think, another thing that I wanted to talk to you about a little bit, because this is something that I think is kind of an issue that we're pretty passionate about in common, and it is women in politics, particularly the way we talk about women in politics, the way we talk to women in the political, world, and how can we, make this more of a welcoming environment and maybe less of, at times, even an abusive environment.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I was just talking about this week with Jacinda Ardern announcing her retirement, and BBC putting out that headline saying, can women have it all? And that was so frustrating to read, and it made me reflect on, I remember in 2018 when I was running for deputy mayor, someone asked me, the question was, how can you be a deputy mayor and be a good mom? And I was like, what do you mean? I have to make a choice? And I remember telling Mayor Marcus Ryan, who's the mayor of Zora Township, I remember telling him that, and he's like, I'm a stay-at-home dad. No one asked me, can I be a mayor and a good dad? Why is this a big deal for you? And we sat and talked about it for a while, and just those pressures that women have, they exist, and whether or not you intentionally put those stereotypes on women in politics, it definitely still happens. And I just ran an election a few months ago, and the same things happen. You hear the same things over and over again, and I think I often said, when I ran in 2014 and when I ran in 2018, it was tough being a woman running, and especially being a young woman running as well, and a young mom, and all of that. It was tough, and I heard a lot of comments that I never thought I would ever hear in my small community. I heard them all, and sometimes I'd go home and just be like, what am I doing? The 2022 election, I think, we're seeing a lot of that frustration from COVID, the anger from COVID, the rise of Trumpism from the States coming into, this past election was really, 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 really bad. And I remember, there was a few people that I encouraged to run, and they were telling me things that were happening to them, and all I could say was, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I put you through this, because I think it's really tough, and I don't think the general public realizes what we are doing to women,
Right.
and how we're pushing them away. And as much as we need more young voices, we need more BIPOC voices, more female voices at the table. We're pushing them away because we're making politics such an ugly place to be.
It can be too, but then when when you are able to, I think your family had a conservative background in politics, right? But you have always been so successful, and maybe like you make great effort to do this, but to give time and think about and listen to and talk about issues that are across the board, whether it's a conservative, a liberal, and you have no qualms about supporting anybody from any party if you like their ideas.
I'm super passionate in that we need more good people in politics, and it doesn't matter what stripe they come from. We just need good people. And I think, the more that we see what's happening in, all the scandals that are happening and, all the terrible things that are happening, we just need more good people in politics. And to do that, we, need to treat people with respect. We need to treat across party lines, treat people with respect. I think, no matter what stripe you come from, you have some good ideas. We might not always agree with them, but there's good ideas mixed in there, and we need to do a better job at working together, because I think we are very divided in those parties. And I've always been a huge supporter of you every time that you run for the Green Party. I was a huge supporter of Kate Graham when she ran for the Liberal leadership, Amanda Stark when she ran for the NDP. Just getting good people out there is so important, and I think we all need to do a more conscientious effort in supporting good people and encouraging people to get involved.
Absolutely. I've always, even back in the early 2000s when I first started running for politics, civility, like just being, and so, having to former politicians, I guess, being able to have a civil conversation sets a really good example, and that's, I guess that's a start, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, as the next generation, I had a walk last night with a young gentleman who's just starting high school. He's super interested in local government, and we walked the track at the Dorchester Arena together, just talking about local issues and everything that's happening. And I think that generation, his generation, is more political than I was when I was his age, for sure. And so I think setting a good example for them, I think they are going to be incredible at once they get into that political world, and they're really going to make a difference. And I really hope that, they change what we've done and the political scene that we've created.
And maybe build on some of the great things,
yes,
right? Because
absolutely.
you have accomplished a lot of wonderful things in your political career, and it's so great to hear that you are moving on to an awesome new job and still working on things you're passionate about. So thank you for sharing that, Kelly. Thank you for being here. We are going to have to take another break, but I'm going to be talking to a young person after the break, because that's how we end our show on LdnOnt TV. So please stay with us, and we'll have a little bit more LdnOnt TV after this.
This program is brought to you by the following sponsors.
Yo. Yep. Okay, I'll be there. Most people that have received treatment for drug use problems are probably going to have a lapse.
Join addictions counselor Dean Anderson for Invisible, Breaking Through the Stigma of Addiction, on Rogers TV.
Hi, I'm Dan Mailer. I'm the host of London Lights, the show where we talk about notable Londoners who have made a big mark, big impact on the world of music, entertainment, sports, politics.
Welcome back to LdnOnt TV here on Rogers TV. Great conversation with Kelly Elliot. Started in politics young. We always end our show with a young person. Welcome back, Brooklyn, to London. So last time we visited with Brooklyn, I believe you had just left Calgary, relocated to Toronto. Now, lucky me, you're back here in London. What's it like to be back?
It's really good being back. I've been visiting a bunch of people I knew in elementary school, which is really cool, and I've been meeting new people too, having lots of fun, doing fun things, seeing London in a new way, because I was not a teenager last time I lived here, so there's a lot of cool new things that I didn't know about because I was a kid when I was here last, so that was cool.
Right. Full-time school, finally.
Yes.
I know that grade 11?
Yes.
So the first time you're ever going to have exams, right?
Yes.
Scary?
A little bit, but you know what, it's okay. If we have it spaced out where every day you do an exam and then you have some space in between, so I think I should be fine. I'll have time to like recoup after each one, which is good.
Great attitude. Now, I know you and I have in common a great love of art. So talk to me about what you've been doing with your art lately.
Lately, I have been doing a lot of silk screening, like every day, every night, just silk screening all the time. I silk screen in my backyard.
So for people who don't know what silk screening is.
Basically, I've done different processes, but I've done mostly a light emulsion process. So, for example, I would make a collage, I'd scan it and make it digital, and then do a light emulsion process where I turn it into a screen where I can make t-shirts, prints, and things like that out of the design I made. You could do it with drawings and things like that, so it's been really fun.
And so do you have like a little business or?
Yeah, it's very small right now and I've only done one art booth so far, but it was really cool. I'm planning on doing more. So I've been just posting a lot of the stuff I've been doing, practicing and exploring. I've not 100% there yet, but I'm learning a lot and doing a lot of fun things. I've been like even in my backyard silk screening in the night because I just love it so much, so that's been fun.
Yeah, it's something about when you love art, you could literally, we had this conversation today, I forget to eat, I forget to drink, but you know what, it's wonderful.
I started out in the daytime and I was like, it's dark out already. I just lost track of time, yeah.
Yeah, it's a wonderful way, it's a wonderful thing to get lost in though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really good.
Well, thank you so much for coming and visiting with us. Looking forward to seeing, you know, how your business goes and all of your silk screening and all of the other kinds of art that you do. Hope exams work out well. I'm glad you're back at school full time, and I'm so glad you're back here in London. So thank you for being here, Brooklyn. Thank you again to Kelly Elliot for visiting with us, and thank you, viewers, for tuning in this week. We hope you will tune in again next week for more LdnOnt TV here on Rogers TV.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Volunteering at Rogers TV was a huge part of my career path. It was the opportunities that I got doing color commentary for Woodstock Navy Vets hockey, or